Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. I'm going to do part 2 of adding and subtracting fractions. So we had been doing questions where we find a common denominator. We'll do another question that sort of summarizes everything we've done so far. So you got the fraction 17 over 18 plus 5 over 9. And I'm going to make an area for scrap or mental work, but I know a lot of you will not need that. Call that scrap or mental math. Okay, and we need to find the lowest common denominator of 18 and 9. If you can get it by mental math, great. You don't need to show any work, but if you can't, do some skip counting. First multiple of 9 is 9. 18. Oh, look at this. First multiple of 18 is 18. There's my lowest common denominator. My lowest common denominator is 18. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to write both fractions with denominator 18. Now 17 over 18 doesn't change. And to go from 9 to 18, you multiply by 2, multiply by 2. And you get 10 over 18. Now, add up your fractions. 17 and 10 make 27 over 18. Now, we don't want to leave that as an improper fraction, and we actually want to reduce it first. So I'm going to reduce this fraction by dividing the numerator and denominator by 9. And I'm going to get 3 over 2. And then recognize that this means 3 divide by 2. So how many groups of 2 fit inside 3? 1 whole, with a remainder 1 out of 2. So there's your fraction in lowest terms, 1.5. Another question. 7 over 10. Subtract 3 over 5. And I'm going to divide my page up, 1/2 for scrap work or mental math. Okay, and I want to get my lowest common denominator of 10 and 5. Again, if I know it by mental math, that's fine, but if I don't, I have to do some skip counting to find it. So I'll put my denominator 10, my denominator 5, and skip count. 10, 20, 5, 10. And there it is, right? Lowest common denominator is 10. Take your lowest common denominator and you want to write both fractions with that lowest common denominator. I forgot to mention, the reason I get the kids to line up the fractions vertically is because then you get your equivalent fractions lined up so nicely. And everything there's fewer mistakes that way. So what do I multiply by 5 to get 10? I multiply by 2. Do the same thing to the top, and that gives me 6 over 10. Total up those fractions that I've drawn in black. Actually, not total, but find the difference. 7 take away 6 is 1 over 10. And that fraction is in lowest terms. So it's this work that I'd want you to show me when you do the assignment. And I'd like it to look like that. This work right here, you might do in a piece of scrap paper or you might do in your head. All right. What I wanted to show is something that doesn't appear on this assignment, but just a couple of things. Just because we're finding lowest common denominator doesn't mean you should lose your common sense. So if you have a whole number plus a fraction, 5 plus 1/3, that's just 5 1/3. So don't forget to use your common number sense, okay? And then the last thing I want to do is sometimes you'll get subtraction questions like this. We're actually getting into some mixed numbers now, and that's not for next week until next week, but I just wanted to show you these couple. So 9 minus 1 3/4. Now, some of you might use mental math for this. You might say, you know what? So I know that 9 take away 1 is equal to 8. And then I still have to take away 3/4. So then 8 take away 3 over 4, well, that's just going to be 7 and 1 over 4. Because I know that if I add 3/4, I know that if I add 3/4 onto 1/4, I will get 1 whole, and that will make 8. And then if I add 1 back onto 8, that will give me 9. Now that might not do it for you. That might not make sense. So we could use a more structured method to get the answer as well. I could do it like this. 9 take away 1 and 3 over 4. And I could say, you know what? To subtract this, I'm going to borrow a group 1 whole from that 9 and make it 8. I'm going to take that 1 whole, and I'm going to write it over here in fraction land, but instead of writing 1 whole, I'm going to write it as 4 over 4. So what I have here is 8 plus 1 is still 9. But now I can subtract this fraction. So 8 take away 1 is 7. I don't like the way that looks. 8 take away 1 is 7. And 4 take away 3 is 1 over 4. And I get the same answer that I had here. So that's all the work we've done with adding and subtracting fractions so far. It's all a review from grade 7, but you really got to know that, well for grade 8 as well. So now you can do the assignment Greek decoder. And when you do Greek decoder, I want your questions to look like this. I've done the first couple questions here for you. So I want to make sure your questions look like that. Make sure you're doing them neatly in your notebook. That's all for now. Hopefully this helps with your assignment. Greek decoder. Flexing Teacher Weber out.